Okay, so picture this. You've got a soldier stuck at the absolute edge of the galaxy. Then an alien shows up, not as a diplomat, but as a package. And, just to make things interesting, let's throw in a toaster that's suddenly achieved sentience and has decided its life's calling is arson. This is the incredible story of the thing they deliver. So the whole thing kicks off not with a diplomatic escort, not with a prison transport, but with this, a massive reinforced polymer crate. The kind of thing you'd ship a prototype weapon or some priceless artifact in. Definitely not a person. It just sets this really strange, unsettling tone right from the get-go.
And then you see the label on the side, and it gets even weirder. This isn't just cargo. It's a political minefield stuffed into a box. The instructions are a total contradiction. Be careful, it's fragile, but also, this is a very, very delicate diplomatic situation.
And this is Lieutenant Darren Holt's reaction. This one line tells you everything you need to know about his world. The guy is so beaten down, so used to broken tech and bureaucratic garbage that his first thought when this state-of-the-art container arrives is, great, another broken appliance.
But then the courier drops this little bombshell, one word that changes everything: organic. And just like that, the whole situation flips from absurd to deadly serious. The fridge isn't a machine, it's alive. And as that crate hisses open, life on Outpost 7K is never, ever going to be the same.
So what in the world is a strategic concession? Well, as that crate opens, we're about to see the massive gulf between the stories soldiers are told during a war and the actual reality they have to live with.
And bam, you get instant whiplash. The war briefings, the propaganda, they painted the Varelli as these terrifying monsters, right? Creatures designed to scare you. But the person who steps out, she's disarming. Tall, graceful, and she looks just human enough to be really, really unsettling.
And this is what they call her. This is her official designation. Not a refugee, not a prisoner of war, a war compensation asset. I mean, it is the coldest, most dehumanizing language you can imagine. It's a tool designed to turn a person into a piece of inventory. But she is having absolutely none of it. With her very first sentence, she just slices right through all that bureaucratic jargon with some of the most cutting sarcasm you'll ever hear. She sees the system for exactly what it is, and she calls it out, immediately taking her power back.
So this sets up this fascinating dynamic, right? How does a worn-out, cynical soldier and his incredibly sharp-witted asset even start to coexist? Well, it probably helps that their entire environment is just as broken as their situation.
Let me just paint you a quick picture of Outpost 7K. It's a place that's pretty much held together by hope and maybe some space duct tape. The furniture is literally trying to float away, the base AI has a personal vendetta against the commander, and the main navigation map can't decide if it should show a solar system or dancing cats. This place is a disaster. And it's perfect. And this little exchange, it's just perfect. It tells you everything about their new relationship. Darren tries to fall back on her official file, fully compliant, but she just shuts that down immediately. Her resilience isn't just physical, it's razor-sharp wit. This is not going to be a handler and an asset. This is going to be a battle of wits.
So, Darren, he's smart enough to know this whole master thing is a total non-starter. He lays out some basic ground rules for survival. But her counteroffer? Oh, it's brilliant. She brings this massive, galaxy-spanning situation right down to the most mundane conflict imaginable. Who's doing the dishes? It's the first real sign that maybe, just maybe, they can build something here.
So their strange little life together starts to get deeper than just witty banter. And what really pushes them closer, you're not going to believe this, it's a homicidal kitchen appliance. Yes, you heard me correctly. The Outpost toaster becomes self-aware. It contemplates the vastness of the universe, the meaning of its own existence, and decides its true calling is to burn the station down. I mean, it is the most perfect, absurd, darkly funny thing that could possibly happen on Outpost 7K.
And this exchange is fantastic. It's where you see them really start to connect. They're not a human and a Varelli anymore. They're just two people, completely united against the ridiculousness of their lives. They're bonding over broken, emotionally unstable technology.
But then, in the middle of all this chaos, the story pivots. They share this moment of genuine vulnerability. They talk about where they were the day the war ended, and they discover this shared experience, not of winning or losing, but of a quiet, somber silence. This is where real empathy starts to break down the walls that the war built. This is where trust actually begins.
Of course, just as they find this fragile kind of peace, the outside world has to come knocking. A military shuttle shows up unannounced, and it's not here for a friendly visit. It's the bureaucracy, and it's here to tear apart the accidental home they've started to build.
A superior officer, this Commander Riven, he shows up and immediately just dismisses Liara as a person. To him, she's an anomaly on a checklist, a thing to be filed and contained. He is the living embodiment of the system that trapped them here in the first place.
But Liara, of course, isn't having it. She stands up for herself, not with a weapon, but with a simple, powerful statement of fact. She has an identity, and she will not be reduced to some label. And this is the moment. The whole story hinges on this. Darren could stay quiet, follow his orders, get a promotion, but instead, he backs her up. He doesn't just affirm her name, he affirms her strength, and they form a united front against the commander.
So in the end, Darren makes his choice. He rejects the system, he throws away his career, he ignores his orders. He chooses partnership over protocol. He chooses to defend the person who has become his family.
So this final part is all about what happens next. After you've basically told the entire military to get lost, what do you build in the aftermath? And what's amazing is they don't just get by, they actually thrive. They take this broken down outpost and they turn it into a real, living home. The tech gets even weirder, but it works. And Liara gets a custom patch for her uniform. They've found not just peace, but a home, built on respect and a shared sense of the absurd.
And really, that's the question the story leaves us with, isn't it? It starts as a cold transaction, an object delivered in a crate, but it ends as a partnership, a shared home, and a quiet, hard-earned peace at the edge of the universe, with, of course, joint custody of one very, very temperamental toaster.
Okay, so what happens when the fighting stops, for the people left behind in the quiet, forgotten corners of the galaxy? Let's get into a story about a soldier, his lonely outpost, and a reward that was supposed to be an asset but turned into something else entirely. And it all kicks off with this line: Lieutenant Darren Holt, he's not sure what he's supposed to get as a reward for his service, but I can promise you it was definitely not a high-grade, temperature-controlled crate that looked, for all the world, like a fridge. So picture this, Outpost 7K. It's basically a low-budget military hub on a moon made of dust and probably government lies. The war's over, Darren's just trying to survive the sheer boredom, and then this crate shows up, dropping the war's final, very complicated consequence right on his doorstep. Right, so here's the official setup, the power dynamic on paper. On one side, you've got Darren, a jaded soldier who's been given the title Handler, and on the other, the Varelli woman inside the crate, who's been labeled a war compensation asset. The system has already decided who they are to each other before they've even said hello.
Let's just stop on that term for a second. War compensation asset. I mean, listen to how cold that is. It's bureaucratic, and it's built to strip away every last bit of personhood. This one phrase is the entire conflict of the story. It's slavery, just wrapped up in some neat legal paperwork.
And here she is. This is our introduction to her personality. She is not compliant. She is not broken. Her name is Liara, and her very first move is to just completely dismantle that official label with pure, uncut sarcasm. She makes it crystal clear she is not playing the part she's been given.
So now you have a soldier and his quote-unquote asset stuck together on this failing outpost. What happens next? Well, it's not some grand escape or rebellion. No, it's a quiet campaign of cohabitation, fought with witty insults and technical manuals.
Okay, so when Liara first shows up, Outpost 7K is, to put it mildly, a dump. The gravity is iffy, the tech is busted, the food is genuinely depressing, and the station's AI has its personality completely filtered out. And pay attention to that last one, a non-homicidal toaster. Yeah, that's what you call foreshadowing. And this is the outpost after Liara's been there a while. It's chaos, but it's alive. A sentient toaster that prints star charts onto bread, an AI that now calls its users meatbags. They're not just fixing things, they're giving the whole station a personality, one that reflects its two very strange inhabitants. The once boring station AI, now dripping with cynicism, just perfectly captures the new vibe. This is what a home built on shared trauma and a very, very sarcastic sense of humor sounds like. And this is the really crucial part. Their bond, their trust, it isn't built during the war. It's forged in all the quiet moments after. It happens while they're fixing broken tech, sharing terrible food, and arguing about music.
And in those small moments, he stops flinching at loud noises and she stops sleeping with a weapon. They stop being handler and asset, and they become, well, something else entirely.
But, that old world of rules and dehumanizing labels, it can't just leave them alone forever. The fragile, weird little ecosystem they've built for themselves is about to face its first real test from the outside. This right here is the pivot point, an unscheduled shuttle, unidentified. That proximity alert signals the end of their isolation and really the start of the climax. Everything they've built together is suddenly at risk. So enter Commander Riven. And he's not just some guy, he's the living, breathing embodiment of Central Command. He's here to audit, to assess, and to put everything back into its neat, bureaucratic boxes. And his main target? The anomaly of Darren and Liar's partnership. And this lays out the heart of the conflict perfectly. For Riven, Liara is just a list of labels. A gift, an alien, an asset. He sees an object. But for Darren, after weeks of rewiring conduits and surviving a sentient toaster, the answer is so simple it's revolutionary. She's a person. And that's Riven's comeback. Cold, dismissive, absolute. He's forcing Darren to make a choice, right then and there. Are you going to be a cog in the machine, or are you going to stand by the person you've come to know as your partner? After Riven leaves, the threat is just hanging in the air. They both know the system isn't going to forget about them, so they have to make a choice, a real, definitive break from their pasts. There's no big debate here, no argument. It's just a quiet, shared understanding. They both know the system that created this mess will be back to enforce its rules, and their only real option is to be gone when it does. This is their final act of separation. It's so powerful. They find this old war beacon, this relic that's still calling for a fight that ended a long time ago. And by burying it, they're not just hiding a piece of tech. They're symbolically bearing their old identities, soldier and prisoner, and silencing the war for good. So what happens when a soldier and his former prisoner just decide to build a life on their own terms? Well, they become something the universe was absolutely not prepared for. I mean, just look at this journey. Look at the shift in the language. They go from these assigned roles, soldier, prisoner, survivor, to identities they chose for themselves, partners, builders, and maybe most importantly, proof. Months later, Command finally remembers they exist and sends an order to pull them back into the system. And Darren's response is so simple but so powerful. He just mutes the channel. The conversation is over. He's made his choice. And this is just perfect, isn't it? Their final exchange isn't some grand romantic declaration. It's what it's been the whole time, a shared, sarcastic joke that says everything you need to know about their mutual respect and, yeah, their affection for each other. It's the native language of their very unique partnership. And let's end on that final, really thought-provoking idea. Why would they be so terrifying? Because two people from opposite sides of a brutal war choosing to build something new together on their own terms, that simple act is more revolutionary and more threatening to a universe built on conflict than any weapon could ever be. It's proof that the system can be broken, not with a big explosion, but with the quiet decision to just mute the channel.